Good morning, everybody. My name is Bryan Koon. I'm the director of the state's Division of Emergency Management. I've been in that role for about 5 years now. One of the primary jobs I've got is to reduce the impact of disasters upon the state of Florida, upon the citizens of Florida, and try to get us back to normal as quickly as possible as those events occur. I've got a number of tools at my disposal to do so. I've got the federal government and the individual assistance and public assistance programs. I've got state programs. I've got the nonprofit sector. But frankly, none of those programs, individually or even combined, are able to make individuals whole after they have a flood. And so it's in my best interest, it's in the state's best interest to have all of those folks maximize their ability, maximize their coverage through flood insurance, because that allows us as a state to focus our resources on those folks who are unable to get that coverage after a storm. And it's disheartening to see time after time we have floods in this state, including this past summer here in Pinellas County. We'll have large floods, and we'll go out and talk to businesses, we'll go out and talk to individuals, and they didn't have flood insurance, or they let their flood insurance lapse, or they didn't have adequate coverage. And there's very little recourse for them to get back to normal on any kind of expeditious timeline without that insurance coverage. And so we in the division are always working and trying to find ways to make sure that Floridians understand what the risk is from flood and what they can do to help protect themselves. A couple of things that we focus on doing that. One is outreach and awareness, and certainly that's a big part of my job, talking to folks about what the risk is from flood, helping them understand that it can impact them, helping them understand what are the chances that they're going to be impacted, what are the solutions that are available to them through the insurance market and others, and helping them make that decision. But we recognize that the larger driver on that is helping to find ways to make, frankly, the coverage more affordable for them. And that's, I think, where we're headed, and we're finding some success in that. We started down this road, as Senator Bryan just noted, in 2012 with the Bigger Waters Act, as we saw the impact to Florida, and specifically in the Tampa Bay area, that it was having on the housing market. We recognized that as the rates were moving towards actuarially sound rates, that the amount of coverage that Floridians bought was going to decline. And we've seen that. We've seen over the last couple of years roughly gone from 2.1 million to a little over 1.9 million flood policies in Florida. About an 8% decrease, and frankly, that's the opposite direction we need to be going. We weren't covered enough to begin with, and as we start shedding those policies, that's going to make the next disaster in the state that much worse. And so we started taking a look at the opportunities we had at the Division of Emergency Management to impact that. What is it we could do to help reverse that trend? And we focused on the community rating system aspect of the National Flood Insurance Program. And a community rating system is that system which allows communities, flood insurance communities, to take proactive steps to help make their communities more resilient to the next flood, more ability to bounce back more quickly from that next flood, and in doing so, achieve discounts for the policyholders in their communities, anywhere from a 5% discount to a 45% discount on their flood insurance policy rates. We were doing a pretty good job of that in the state prior to 2012. A little less than half of the communities in the state were in the flood insurance, in the community rating system, about 47%. But that meant 53%, or 220 or so communities, were not achieving any kind of discounts at all for their citizens. And so we started taking a look at it and saw how was it that we could maximize, one, all of the community's engagement in the community rating system, and two, their level of rating within that. How can we move them all towards that 45% discount? And so we have now 4 people within the division working full-time out in the community, talking to those community leaders, talking to those program managers, helping them get enrolled in the community rating system, to do the paperwork, to understand, first of all, for many of them, even what it is and how you apply for it, and then to take advantage of all of the things that they are doing within their community to move that ball forward. So we got 4 people working on that piece of it. We're doing a lot of the baseline work. In order to enroll in that community rating system, you have to have a community assistance visit that's judged acceptable by FEMA. We used to do a dozen or 2 dozen a year of those community assistance visits. We've more than quintupled that this year. Our goal is to get every community state that community assistance visit baseline done so that all of them will be eligible for the community rating system. And then finally, we're looking for ways to get them points. The whole system is built on points. Every 500 points you get moves you up 1.5% discount rate. So if you get every 500 points, you get another 5% discount. We're looking for ways to do statewide points so that every community in the state can take advantage of what the state has done. Without doing anything on their own, they can say the state's doing this on our behalf, and now we can move up that class rating. One of the things that we're working on right now, with the help of Senator Brandes and his colleagues in the legislature, last year we were given funding for a statewide emergency alerting system that will allow us to notify every individual in the state of Florida, tourist and citizen, about life safety issues, hurricane warnings, tornado warnings, but specifically for this program, flood warnings. And through that system, we'll be able to take advantage of those points, apply them across the board, and we've determined that the return on investment for that program, based on the number of points we'll generate, based on the number of policyholders in the state, it's about a $47 million return on about a $4 million investment. So by putting about $4 million into this notification system, we will in Florida, as we maximize this program, put $47 million back in the pockets of Floridians who have flood insurance policies, therefore making the policies themselves more a better price and frankly more appealing for those folks so that more of them will buy insurance on that. And that's the kind of thing we're doing across the board, trying to find better ways to get folks engaged and aware of the community rating system, make their communities more resilient. We've had some good successes thus far. Last week I was in the city of Ocala, who achieved a Class 3 community rating system rating. Class 3 means that those people in the special flood hazard area in Ocala will have a 35% discount on their flood insurance premium. That's the first in the state of Florida to be ranked that high. It's only the second east of the Mississippi to be rated that high, and one of only 7 communities nationwide out of 22,000 flood communities to have a Class 3 or better. They did that in 6 months. They went from a Class 8 to a Class 3. Class 8's a 10% discount to a 35% discount through a concerted effort of the public works folks there in the city of Ocala and our staff assisting them. And so what we're going to do is leverage that, take the lessons learned out of that, and start applying it across the state. So we're very excited about that. We've demonstrated now that you can make huge leaps in this program simply by taking advantage of the programs that are already in place and doing a few things on the extra side of it. And the citizens of Ocala will now save $123,000 a year on their premiums every single year. And that's one single community in the state of Florida. You multiply that by the 400 and some odd communities in the state, we've got a tremendous opportunity ahead of us. We've also, just in the last week, cleared the way for Monroe County and the city of Key West to get into the community rating system. For a number of years, they were ineligible for it because of some issues they had down there. We've cleared up those issues now, and we're starting to put them into the community rating system. As you can imagine, that's a huge deal for Monroe County, where basically every single person is required to have flood insurance. So we're very excited about the progress there. So we're going to continue to push hard on that. We're going to see that those gains continue over time over the next few years. I think it will have ramifications for all of you as well, because while we're aiming right now specifically at the flood insurance program, what we're doing is creating an atmosphere that is conducive to flood insurance in general, that it's going to make these communities more aware of flood insurance, of the flood programs, the flood problems, that build more resilient communities to flood, which should in turn make them more appealing to you all as well, because the community will now be engaged in helping with this flood issue. And so that as you target them, you'll know that they have a stake in this game as well, and you'll be able to give them more appealing prices as an alternative to the National Flood Insurance Program. So we're making some tremendous progress on this piece of it. At the national level, I also serve as the president of the National Emergency Management Association. This is one of the issues we're focused very highly on, as all of the state emergency management directors across the country, because all of my colleagues have the same issue that I do in Florida. We'll be focused very heavily on the reauthorization in 2017. We'll be focused very heavily on talking to the next presidential administration about opportunities to reform the flood insurance program going forward, to try to get it out of the hole that it's in and actually meet the needs of Americans going forward, to create an idea that, to create an atmosphere which is conducive to not only the federal program but the private sector alternatives as well. So lots of things moving on this piece of it. We're making tremendous strides. We're very excited, but at the end of the day, we simply want Floridians to be ready, because we know it's going to flood again. It's our most prevalent hazard. In the United States, 85% of all the presidentially declared disasters were flood-related. In Florida, that number is probably even higher. We want to be ready for the next one. We want Floridians to have the appropriate coverage, because in the end, the communities will be more resilient, will bounce back more quickly, and allow us as government to focus our scarce resources on those folks who are unable to participate in this market and get them back up on their feet as well. So I'm eager to hear from all of you today, additional things we can do at the Division of Emergency Management to help them move that ball forward. Thanks for your time this morning. And I'm looking forward to conversations we'll have out in the hallway afterwards. Senator, thanks again for having me in this.